The season is finally over. This terrible stink of a season is finally over. We can start talking about head coaches and interviews, free agents, offseason trades, and the draft. The offseason is finally here, but we do need to talk about this final game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'll say this about this game: it ended in Saints fashion. Good first half, disgusting second half. A tale of two teams, which resulted in a loss to the Buccaneers and an embarrassment at the end of the game, which we'll get into all of it. Before we do though, make sure you are subscribed to my channel, Cash Sports. We're on the road to 10K in 2025. Got a huge offseason for the Saints and just the NFL in general, doing more NFL content this year. And 69% of you, nice, who watch my videos are not subscribed. It helps the channel out a lot. It's free, takes 5 seconds. And you're here already, so you might as well do it. All right, that's all I got. Let's talk about this game. Let's start off talking about the Saints quarterback, the rookie, Spencer Rattler, because there isn't a whole lot else to say about this game, and there isn't a whole lot of other players to really talk about other than Spencer Rattler. Rattler is the most important player on this team in terms of the future when talking about these games. And I think what we saw from Spencer Rattler today is the same thing we saw from him last week. An outstanding first half. Last week, I thought he played his best half of football in the first half versus the Raiders. This week, I thought he played better than that half. We saw him play his best football today in this first half. And then in the second half, he started to struggle. I mean, in the first half, Spencer Rattler went 21 of 28, 181 yards, had a touchdown pass to Dante Pettis, and completed a pass to 10 different receivers, Saints players. That's impressive. 28 passes in the first half for a rookie is pretty wild. They didn't really have a consistent running game. And when you look at the passes that Spencer Rattler was doing and the plays that they're doing, it wasn't in his first start how they do play action and roll out and make the read super easy for him. It was shotgun, step up into the pocket, make a nice throw, use your talent, run, that kind of thing. So I think we have seen a good amount of growth from Rattler and his comfortability in the playbook and the trust the coaches have in him from start 1 to, is this start 6 or 7? I 100% believe we have seen a lot of growth from him over his last 6 starts. It's almost like young quarterbacks need time to get better and develop and improve. One of the main things I had an issue with Spencer Rattler during his other starts was how he handled the blitz and when teams went at him. And in the first half, according to ESPN research, Spencer Rattler handled the Buccaneers blitz very well, going 10 of 11 for 89 yards in the first half. That's impressive. He really struggled versus the Buccaneers the first game when they were blitzing. And that's kind of been the biggest issue for me, is the blitzing and the inaccuracy, which we'll get to momentarily. And that's an improvement. I'm not too sure exactly how it was in the second half. I haven't seen a stat regarding the blitz and how he handled it. But obviously, it wasn't as good as it was in the first half. And regarding like Spencer Rattler's stats and stuff in the first half, he also did possibly have a touchdown called back to MVS. This was a really good throw. Put it in the only place he could. Perfect pass right there. Put it right in his chest. It looked like he got 2 feet, but the ball would pop out. I thought it was a touchdown. I thought Darren Rizzi could have and should have challenged it. Right here is where the ball pops out. Right there. Didn't have full control, I guess. I honestly thought it should have been a touchdown. I'm also not upset that it was also ruled incomplete because the ball came out. That's just, my personal opinion. At least challenge it. I think Darren Rizzi should have challenged it. That was a really good throw. Some other throws that Spencer Rattler made on the day that were pretty solid. This one to Juwan Johnson was really nice. Play action. Steps up in the pocket after a drop back and layers it behind the DB. And kind of where Juwan Johnson can only catch it. Really nice play. Allowed Juwan Johnson to make some plays. We'll talk about him in a moment. He had another really nice throw on, let me find it. Where's it at? This might be one of his best throws of the year. This is third down. Tampa Bay's blitzing under some pressure, fits it between this window to Juwan Johnson. Some of you may call it a stupid pass. Sure. Some of you may call it a stupid decision. Sure. It worked though. He got it to his guy, threaded the needle. Like, that's a ridiculous throw. A really good throw. Is there another angle of it? No. This is a crazy throw. I don't think you can deny that. So in the first half, Spencer Rattler looked like a guy who should definitely be starting next season for the New Orleans Saints. And let me remind you, the running game wasn't as effective. He still didn't have starting receivers. The offensive line still wasn't at its best. It was okay. And he looked the best that he's looked all season. Now you get in the second half and he starts to struggle. It's kind of been the story of Spencer Rattler's career so far, and also the Saints 2024 season. When I look at the second half from Spencer Rattler, some things that kind of stand out to where he struggled. There's a play where he was rolling out left, a third down, had Cedric Wilson, had his guy beat, and he threw it behind him and it resulted incomplete. I believe they ended up kicking a field goal or punting. I don't exactly remember. Might have been a field goal, but that's a play that stood out. Some other things that stood out as to areas he struggled: he took some unnecessary sacks when he could have possibly thrown it away, put the team in a bad, third and long situation. And then at the end of the game, he had some high passes. The last throw he threw to Cedric Wilson was high pass. He puts it lower. That's probably caught for a first down, and they have another opportunity to score. There was a free play they had. He threw it over the middle, which was a little low and behind him, I think. So there's stuff there. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying, he's the franchise quarterback. What I am saying, though, is you see the talent, you see the flashes, and then you kind of see, the rookie, a 5th-round drafted rookie in him. You kind of see the highs and the lows, and sometimes you kind of have to deal with that. Look at Bryce Young. Dude did not look playable for a year and a half, and now today he had 5 total touchdowns. Sometimes players need time. And I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying, he had a good first half and a bad second half, had some bad accuracy issues, throwing it too high, too low, behind guys, and that ultimately affected the Saints and their ability to finish out this game. Now, Spencer Rattler basically playing, 2 different halves is kind of the story of the Saints season. The Saints have had a hard time counter-punching in the second half, making adjustments. This has been an issue since week 3, and I don't know if it's a player thing or if it's a coaching thing. It's a Saints thing, though. I don't know how much to put on it on the players or how much to put on it on the coaches, but Clint Kubiak has had a hard time counterpunching when teams adjust to what they're doing well in the first half, and when teams adjust, the Saints have had a hard time counterpunching that. Final thing I'm going to say about Spencer Rattler, this is where I'm at with him. I think if you get a new head coach, he comes in and hypothetically cuts Derek Carr because he wants to draft a QB. I don't think Spencer Rattler prevents you from drafting a quarterback, and he shouldn't. I also think, too, you could probably start Spencer Rattler next season and be okay. I think you'd see flashes depending on who the coach is, what they want. I think the flashes that we've seen from Spencer Rattler make you feel a little bit better if the team does move on from Derek Carr. I think if you do move on from Derek Carr, you do need to sign a veteran QB. Maybe you bring in, Andy Dalton or Jarrett Stidham. I wouldn't just have Spencer Rattler be the, unanimous QB1. You got to have some competition for him, whether that is a draft or a free agent. So he doesn't prevent me from drafting a quarterback, but I think he is a guy who you could possibly see as a starter at some point, whether that's a year from now, a year and a half from now. But also, too, got to remember, he's playing with backup third-string players. How does he look if he has Olave and Shaheed and Kamara, Eric McCoy for more than 7 snaps? How does he look? How does he do? I think these are all things you got to consider. And say he does start next season and he's good, then wow, you got a good quarterback. You have a possible franchise QB. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying hypothetically. But if he doesn't do so great next season, then you probably end up with the top pick in 2026. It really is a win-win situation. Hopefully we get more clarity on what the Saints will do at the QB position sometime soon. That's all I got for Spencer Rattler. As for the offense, the only other guy I want to talk about is Juwan Johnson, a guy who Spencer Rattler relied on a lot in this game. Not just this game, but in general since he's been the starter in all of his starts. Juwan Johnson has had an up and down season. He had a few bad drops last week, but Juwan Johnson had a nice game today. You look at the stats, he had 6 catches for 80 yards, had a really nice play of 26 yards, was targeted 7 times. So Juwan Johnson did his job. Got to remember, he's a free agent this offseason. He really put on a showcase. He ended up being the Saints' leading receiver this season. Do the Saints bring him back? I really don't know. I was out on him last week. Is he back now? I really don't know. Maybe Rattler feeding him the ball may have gotten him paid either here or with another team. But regardless, he had a nice game today. Moving on to the defense, I don't really have much to say about the defense. I'll keep it short. The defensive line sucked. Really could not pressure Baker Mayfield all game. Missed tackles were a theme again. Missed sacks were a theme again. Baker Mayfield had like a 30-yard run on 3rd and 17. Like, how does that happen? Joe Woods is definitely a guy who's going to have to go. And I don't even think that should be a debate. Like, this scheme and this defense really did go downhill when he took over. And I'm not vouching for like DA. Like, the defense did suck with DA too. But the tackling has been a season-long issue. The defensive line needs to be revamped. There's no pass rush really at all. And made Baker Mayfield look like Vanilla Vic. Same thing as Spencer Rattler. Saints defense had a good first half, held the Buccaneers to 6 points, I believe, which was a huge surprise. And then they had a bad second half. Was it all their fault? No, the offense wasn't scoring points, wasn't staying on the field. But, you know, the defense went back to being the defense. We'll just call this the second half Saints. Defensively, the only guy who really stood out positively, Khalil McKinstry, I thought had a good day. He had a few pass breakups on Mike Evans. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Jordan Howden got a pick, and then he got cooked on a huge touchdown down the field. So yeah, I can't really say Howden had a good game. DeMario flashed a few times, making some really nice tackles, but then he also blew a few coverages, which allowed the Buccaneers to score and keep the chains moving. And that's about it. I really don't have any other takeaways from the defense other than the final fucking play. Tampa Bay stat padding with Mike Evans. Everybody watching, everybody in the stadium knew it was going to Mike Evans. Why are you not triple teaming Mike Evans? You should not want him to get that record. Leave everybody else open. Do not let Mike Evans get that record. Alontae Taylor was backpedaling as if he was going to run a real route. I think we all kind of knew they were going to throw a 2-yard hitch or a flat or a screen and let him get the yards after the catch. And they let him stat pad and get his stupid record, which is going to convince people he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, congrats, you got 1,005 yards. That's so impressive, man. I really, there's a former Saint on Twitter, let me find it, who tweeted out, Scott Shanell, hope I said that right. The guys I played for would have doubled that dude, Mike Evans, like it was a punt return. No way he's getting that record on us. Like, how did you not see that coming? Everybody knew that was coming. They weren't taking a knee. They weren't running the ball. The guy in motion was Mike Evans. Showed man coverage. And they let him get it. I don't understand the logic of just not letting him get it. It's your division rival. Screw him. That's all I got for the defense. There's really like nothing else defensively I want to talk about. It's just a bad unit overall. Blake Grupe. I'll give Blake Grupe some credit. Blake Grupe had a good season. I think he made like 85% of his kicks on the season. On the day, Blake Grupe, kicking wise, went 4 of 4 with a long of 49, had 13 total points. Like, he was a huge role as to why the Saints were in this game. He deserves more credit. A lot of people were uncertain about him this offseason for obvious reasons, and that was fair. He had a good season this year and finished on a high note. So shout out to Blake Grupe. And that's really all I gotta say about the game. Up next, though, is the offseason. The first thing that we're going to have to talk about when it comes to the Saints is the head coaching search. It's rumored that Mike Vrabel has a meeting with the Saints, I believe this week or next week. I'm not too sure when. But first things first, the offseason, top priority is get the head coach. Second priority should probably be determining what happens with Derek Carr. And then after that, you got to fill in the staff, the coordinators, the assistant coaches. Then you got to figure out who you want to keep on your team in free agency, who you want to let go, like a Chase Young or Paulson Adebo. After that, the team has to get under the salary cap as they do every offseason. And then you got free agency in March, and then in April, we got the draft. And that's what the offseason holds for the Saints. It's going to be a big one, and I'm here to cover it. So stay up to date with me. Subscribe to this channel, Cash Sports, trying to hit 10K and beyond in 2025. Need your support. Want to keep this channel going. And I appreciate all of you for supporting me in this channel in this shitty-ass season. We're going live more this year. Want to do more content for you all. So appreciate you guys sticking through the season, even though we may disagree or agree on whatever topic it is. Appreciate you. Subscribe. And let's get ready for this offseason. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you next time. Peace.